8.
You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Not Dan. What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. How's it going? Triple B, Ed, Clayton, welcome for being here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Those are the words I was trying to say. I am legally not Dan Wickline. I am producer Kyle. Dan is slightly less than 100%, and so is taking the night off to heal up because Dan has a big role to play in the big thing we're announcing during the Dan Wickline Show today. So that's exciting. Like I said, we're going to have a big announcement a little later in the show, but first, I am producer Kyle. This is the Dan Wickline Show. You're watching The Experience. We're going to do something a little different today than Dan normally does. We're going to do an AMA and kind of an announcement of our big event that we're having that's coming up this coming weekend. So we're going to do all of that. This is going to be a little more back and forthy. We'll do some news here after the open, but this is the Dan Wickline Show, just slightly off kilter. Well, normally at this point in the show, Dan goes into the news, all the things you may have missed since you last got together, but I don't pay attention to the news. So I've got to make some stuff up. I'm kidding, of course. I'm going to look at the news and talk to you about it. But first of all, this is an opportunity for you as the viewers of the Dan Wickline Show to talk to me, producer Kyle, as the executive producer of The Experience. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, whatever, throw them in the chat. Jay is here. Jay is going to help me with this. And then we're going to, in just a little bit, make our big fancy announcement that everyone is going to want to tune in for. So why don't you take this opportunity while I'm telling you the news to tell your friends to get in here for our big announcement. The news I really want to talk about is the idea that the writer's strike is continuing. Thank you, Clayton J. That is a Gavin Smith original. He is currently the artist on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW. The Judge Dredd here is also a Gavin Smith original. I have several more. The writer's strike and the actor strike continue out in Hollywood, and the big news is that we're seeing more and more propaganda from the studios being released to news organizations attempting to sow separation between the membership and the leadership of these unions. The thing I want to bring up is there was a story about a number of high-profile showrunners who wanted to meet with the WGA to say, hey, we're just looking for some more information about what's going on. And that story, or in that meeting, having been canceled. The reason it was canceled is because the WGA was able to give them that information without having to have a meeting. And anyone who's ever worked in a corporate environment knows if you have to choose between having a meeting and not having a meeting, you always choose not. So it's important when you see these stories come out to look at the actual facts and go to the Twitter accounts, the X, whatever they're called, the social media or the websites of these people and find out the real behind them, because they're usually going to tell you. I think one of the other things I want to mention is there's been talk about this being a collapse of the entertainment industry. And Willem Dafoe has the greatest quote ever on that, which is, you can only get screwed so much. So eventually this has got to all come together and come up with an answer. In other news, Negaduck comes out tomorrow, and Jay got to read it, and I'm super salty. But from Dynamite, Negaduck is coming out tomorrow. There are also some other important new number ones that are worth mentioning for release tomorrow. And those include Batman, Gargoyle of Gotham #1, a new Daredevil #1 from Marvel, a book that I am very excited about because I got to read it, called Killmore from IDW. And a book that's been around for a while, and you've heard me talk about it. I'm sure you've heard Jen talk about it. You've heard a lot of people talk about it. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer comes out from Whatnot Publishing this week. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer has been out for a while. Previously, it was with Godhood Publishing, which is David Crownson, who created and wrote the book. It's his own creator-owned imprint. So that is something that's definitely worth checking out. It's a great book. It's just as batcrap crazy as you think. And when you see the cover of Harriet Tubman with 2 katanas and doing samurai stuff in the book, you recognize the quality. So there's that. That's really all the news that I am fit to talk about. You guys know I don't really follow the comic book news. And Dan, usually has more stuff because he's kept up with it all weekend. So I'm going to leave that to him when he comes back tomorrow to catch you all up. But instead, I am going to once again remind you that this is an open floor. Ask me any questions. I will be glad to answer them. And we are, I guess, going to make our big announcement a little ahead of schedule, Jay, if that's all right with you. But the big announcement is that this coming Saturday, the Experience is doing a 19-hour and 39-minute. If you can figure out who came up with that price or came up with that length, I will give you a shiny new quarter. But we're going to do a 19-hour and 39-minute live stream marathon celebrating one of history's greatest detectives and grumpiest hairdressers, Batman. Of course, Saturday is Batman Day. In most local comic shops, it's something that's been put on by Lunar Distribution and DC Comics. And they are allowing us to participate in doing this stream. I don't know that allowing is the right word, but they're supporting us and partnering with us in doing this live stream. So we have some great things to announce for Batman Day, including interviews with Ram V, Dan DiDio, Jim Starlin, John Romita Jr., and Mike DiCarlo. Plus potentially more great interviews. We're going to have a game show that y'all can watch. We're going to have a drink and draw that people can tune into. A lot of opportunities, plus great live sales for you to be able to pick up some product of your own. So that will be super fun for you as well. Here's what I'm going to do, Jay. We're going to take our first break, and hopefully during that time, I can get this trailer queued up here for you. And when we do that, we'll be able to show you a little bit of what we're going to be doing with Batman Day coming up. So let's take our first commercial break, and we will be right back after this to kind of dig into Batman Day and to answer any other questions you have. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you. What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard
had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
I'm sure to kill him. Of course, and if his body down here. What was that? No, no, no.
There you go. That is the trailer for Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. Just one of the things we will be talking about and telling you about on Batman Day on Saturday. So in case you missed it before the break, we are doing a 19-hour and 39-minute Batman Day live stream starting this coming week, or this coming weekend, I should say, on Saturday, starting at 7:21 a.m. Eastern Time and ending at midnight Pacific Time. That's 3 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, if you're into that kind of thing. So we will be watching, we will be doing a whole bunch of Batman stuff, including interviews with creators and other great Batman stuff, Batman trivia, that kind of thing. So we are talking about that today, and we're going to be working on it together as it goes, as we go through the show. So what I want you guys to do, if you have any questions about Batman Day or anything here at the experience, feel free to ask during the show, and Jay and I will answer them for you. And then we're going to work through some Batman Day stuff. I'm going to be working on the graphics. As you can see here, I'm working on some of the graphics now. And we will kind of talk through what we're doing. Jay, you want to pop on here and come hang out and chat with me? That would be cool. So I guess, yeah, in the comments, ask any questions. We may do it. We may not go the full time that Dan normally goes, but we are going to be working on these graphics and talking about Batman Day today. So I guess I'll start with a question for Jay, and then anybody else, I want y'all to chime in. Which Batman was your first Batman? Who was your favorite Batman?
Oh man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. It's got to be Adam West.
That's funny. Any special books for Batman Day? Clayton, I'm not gonna say no, but what I am going to say is let's for the sake of our own sanity, let's say there's some stuff in the works that we're very excited to be able to bring to you from our friends there at DC Comics. I can't say what they are. But there's some stuff in the works. Let's just put it that way.
Ooh, Ed.
Ed's first was Adam West. His favorite was Robert Pattinson. You know, Ed, I think that comment would get a lot more hate than it probably deserves. I think Robert Pattinson was a very solid Batman. I think the problem that he got is that he was a not stellar Bruce Wayne. If that makes sense, he seemed a little too much like I'm going to a concert with an emo band Bruce Wayne, as opposed to like Bruce Wayne we all kind of know and love.
Well, it feels to me that it's so early in the career of Batman that he hasn't gotten that Bruce Wayne being the mask kind of part of him yet.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. In my brain, Bruce Wayne is always and will always be the, Batman from the '66 TV show, kind of buttoned down and almost preppy.
Yeah.
Whereas he in this movie, he was, it's not a phase, Mom. Right? Like it's a different sort of thing. And so while there's nothing wrong with that, it just isn't, it to me doesn't scream good Bruce Wayne. It screams fine Batman. Not a great Bruce Wayne. Pattinson is pretty close to trying Keaton for me. I think you mean tying. Keaton is my favorite absolute Batman. So here's the best thing about the Batman, in my opinion. And Jay, you tell me what you think, and you guys tell me in the comments. The best thing about the Batman is how great the bad guys were. Carmine Falcone, John Turturro is Carmine Falcone. Penguin, who is I can't think of his name right now. Colin Farrell as Penguin is so good.
Mm-hmm.
That I think they really bolster what might have otherwise been considered a little bit of a weak playback, a weak sort of storyline for the Batman himself. I do like the detectiveness of the Batman, and I think that Paul Dano's Riddler was very good. Oh, yeah. But I think adding the Riddler to Carmine Falcone, I keep wanting to call him Carmine Infantino because so much of DC history is now painting Carmine Infantino as a bad guy. So I think that was, it's in my brain that way. But no, I think it's got to do a lot with the whole idea of the bad guys matter as much as the good guys.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
100%.
so I think that really saves that. Also, the car, a split fender Ford No or split fender Chevy Nova as the Batmobile. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of those like can't. Is there a more iconic car than the Chevy Nova from that era? And is there a more recognizable Batmobile than taking a regularly recognizable car and making it the Batmobile? Right? Like the original Batmobile were all Ford Mustangs.
Mm.
You know, they were all the Shelby Fords. That were obviously reworked by George Barris. But at the same time, that Nova, like especially if you're into car culture, right,
Yeah.
is such a recognizable car. I mean,
Wow.
if you're into like what's that show? I know Sean watches it, Jay. Um, Street Outlaws.
Street Outlaws, yeah.
Like the Nova is super recognizable there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this whole idea of kind of knowing what you are
Yeah.
and leaning into it.
Like
I'll
going to
Mhm.
Eddie's comment here about making fun of Pattinson. Let me tell you something, Eddie. I no longer prejudge actors when they get roles, and the reason why is I loved Heath Ledger as an actor. I really did. I dug him in most of the stuff he was in. When he was announced as the Joker, I was like, I just don't see it. And then I watched the movie, and to this day, I haven't. There hasn't been a better one to me. I think he owned that role, uh, coming up right above Nicholson. But like, it's it's because of that when they announced Ben Affleck was going to be Batman, I'm not necessarily the biggest Ben Affleck fan, but while everybody was like losing their minds about it, I said, you know what? I got to give him a shot because Heath Ledger proved me wrong. And I said the same thing when Robert Pattinson got cast. Everybody wants to remember the Twilight movies. They need to watch other things that Robert Pattinson has done. He's much more than Edward Cullen.
Although let's be honest,
Mm-hmm.
Edward Cullen.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's most known for. I
If
get
you're
it.
gonna pick a pitch to hit, being in a movie that was that successful,
Yeah.
even if it isn't the thing that like we all wanted or we
Mm-hmm.
all would be into, uh, pretty solid pitch to hit. But no, I think so. My least favorite Batman, and we'll get this out of the way today, so you don't have to talk about it on Saturday when we're gonna be pro Batman, is probably Batfleck.
Mm.
And the reason that he is my least favorite Batman is simply because they didn't know how to Batman him. Right? It was clear that the writer of that movie didn't understand what Ben Affleck does good and certainly doesn't understand what Batman does. And so they're like, we're going to make this guy the Batman. We're going to really just make him vaguely Batmanish. George Clooney is better than Batfleck only because he's a really good Bruce Wayne. I believe George Clooney as a Nepo baby way more than I believe some of these others as Nepo babies. If you think about George Clooney as, again, some of these, uh, what's the word for some of these more iconic or more specialized, um, focusing on playing Bruce Wayne.
Mm.
So I think that's an interesting thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
Um, that forgives him a little bit for his being less great at other things. Man, okay, so I meant when Pattinson was going to play Batman, I made fun of him, calling him Sparkles Batman. Right. I think we all did. I think we all made fun of him. Good time with Pattinson sold me on trusting him with the bats. It's true. I think the idea of trying to pick a favorite Batman is kind of like the idea of trying to pick a favorite kid.
Yeah, it really is.
Not smart. I think the idea of trying to pick a favorite Batman is kind of like saying, well, we have to fight through, we have to pick somebody. Who's it going to be? Well, I guess it's going to be this guy, so I struggle with it royally. So, does anybody have any questions about Batman Day here on the experience, or about the experience in general, or any other questions for me, producer Kyle, as producer of the experience? Or we can keep talking about how Michael Keaton is the second greatest Batman of all time. Only behind Adam West. And that's because Adam West ate so much scenery while making the Batman TV show. He basically became the Batman TV show. Also, let's remember on some level that in the LA phone book, if you looked up Adam West, it would say see Batman or see Bruce Wayne. Under Bruce Wayne, it would say see Batman. Under Batman, it would say see Adam West. He went out of his way to keep the guise of Batman intact. And I think that is super cool.
Yeah. I got to agree with Clayton J and Eddie with that one, man. Kevin Conroy
greatest
voice.
Yes.
Was the voice of my childhood with that Batman.
And someone that has recently kind of came onto my awareness as how much Batman they've done that I really appreciate their work on it is Will Friedle.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of came onto my awareness as a person who has done more Batman than I expected.
Yeah.
Hey, do we want to watch another one of these DC trailers?
Yeah, but real quick, Clayton's wanting to know, do we know who is doing some of the interviews yet? Okay.
We don't know who is interviewing Mike DiCarlo yet. And the reason we don't know who is interviewing Mike DiCarlo yet is that he and I are meeting tomorrow to nail down his schedule. So some of this stuff we're going to be working on until the very last minute. So I want to encourage you all in this time to be following us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, community posts on YouTube. And then if you're on Blue Sky, we'll be posting on Blue Sky too. Just be following us on social media and be looking. If you're not signed up for our mailing list, there will be an email that goes out. There will be an email that goes out with all of those details in it, schedules and things like that, so that you can know when to tune in. I will tell you, Clayton, that all of the interviews will be available separately afterwards, after the event is over. We'll have a place for those to be checked out individually as well. So let's do this. Let's run this next DC trailer, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Batman Day. How's that sound?
Cool. Let's do it.
Here we go. Uh-oh. No. Okay, we're going to do it this way. Hold on. See, that's what I was worried about, and that's part of why we're doing this, right? We're testing some things. So...
Clayton J, that's awesome, man. Hope to see you there.
All right. I'm sure y'all could hear it. All right. Here we go.
Dr. Harley Flinzel. Dr. Harley Flinzel. Leave 1 to 10 8.
I'm Dr. Harleen Quinzel, the Joker psychiatrist. My story's the one where the girl dances with the devil, and I just knew I could help him. My smile made his heartbeat faster. It was a slow process, but little by little, he opened up to me. Bit by bit, weeks turned to months. My schedule said they were sessions, but what we shared were dates. He stole my nights, my days, my smile, and my heart. If he could be the Joker, I knew I could be his Harley Quinn. And who knows, maybe someday my love can cure him.
All right. Harleen, man.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah. No, so a lot of these are a lot of our trailers. One of the things that's really important to us here at the Experience, and I don't know if you see that all the time from us, is how important the local comic shop is in the comic book community. Having a local comic shop or participating with a local comic shop. So, we offer several local comic shops here on the Experience that you can interact with, or we always try and tell you to head to your local comic shop. So everything we're playing trailers for is in print and available at your local comic shop. If they don't have it, they can order it, which is super important to us. So if you don't know where there's a local comic shop or you don't have one that you like, head over to comicshoplocator.com and type in the area code where you are, and it will spit out comic shops nearby to you so that you can visit them. And you can pick up some of these books. So that's going to be super important. One of the big factors here for Batman Day is this idea of head to your local comic shop and take part in buying and reading the Batmans. What's up, John? Welcome in. I'm sorry that we're not doing the Punisher Day for John. If they make one, I promise we'll do it. In fact, one of the people that I was actively sort of talking to today is one of the writers on one of the classic Punisher writers. I don't want to tell anybody because we're saving that, but classic Punisher writer. So super fun. The Batman soundtrack was better than the film. I say that because the movie was mostly a vibe and the music set the mood completely. Look, any movie that says we're going to take Kiss by a Rose by Seal and make that the biggest hit you've ever heard in your life, because it's a great song. But imagine if you saw Batman and you heard I've been kissed by a, like it's like I Believe I Can Fly only exists if you could see Michael Jordan flying through the air. The only reason Kiss from a Rose was that big of a hit is because you could see Batman crying.
Yeah.
I said it. I say it again. I agree with Bronze. One of the greatest soundtracks ever made. So that's something. So while we're here hanging out, I can announce for sure that we will have interviews with Ram V as part of Batman Day. Ram V, currently working on Detective Comics, has an upcoming long run on Detective Comics. Dean DiDio, who was the editor or the editor-in-chief there at Marvel or DC for a long time, publisher at DC, long history with the character of Batman, currently working with Frank Miller Presents. He will be on. I spoke to Jim Starlin this morning. Jim Starlin will be joining us. Mike DiCarlo will be on at some point. He and I are talking in the morning tomorrow to set a time and to get all of that stuff sorted out for him. John Romita Jr. will be joining us. Now, here's the interesting thing about John Jr. And I'm going to put this out there, and I want you all to keep it under your hat, okay? So it's just between me and the handful of us, 24 of us that are here. John Jr. is going to be taking commissions.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
So we're working those details out on how that will all work. But John will likely be taking commissions in some form. How we work that out is still to be determined. Well, bad time, right? Great, a fifth mortgage. Just waiting. I'll tell you guys, when we discuss the rates, they're not that unreasonable for John Jr. Oh yeah, no. Ram V is great. So I got to tell you, I'm gonna let you in a little bit of secret. Ram is actually going to be in Spain on Saturday at a convention. So the interview is going to be a feat of engineering marvel. To pull that one off, but he will be here, even if we have to pre-record it. But we're gonna try and do it live from wherever he is. Let's see. So John Romita Jr., Jim Starlin, Mike DiCarlo, Dan DiDio, and Ram V are all confirmed. Yeah, it's crazy. We're flying you out to right. That's exactly what we're doing. No, that's not what we're doing. I'm just trying to find a friend in Spain who can be like, hey, can you go over to this thing and just point your phone at him? So that's super fun. We also have messages out, and we've reached out to a bunch of other people that would be cool. That would be cool to have on, but we're actually working on another fun event that will happen from 10 to midnight Eastern. So 7 to 10 p.m. or 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, where we are having a drink and draw live on the air, a virtual drink and draw, where we're inviting independent creators to come on and talk about their love and affinity for the character of Batman, and create some work that you can then buy from them. So that will be another opportunity to get some cool Batman stuff that might not be, well, that I can almost assure you won't be nearly as expensive as John Romita Jr. And again, I don't think John's prices are bad. So, like, I think they're very, very, very reasonable. But when you're like me and you're like, I got enough for a 10-piece nugget.
Good.
It's always a tough day. So let's do this, Jay. Let's take our second commercial break. When we come back, I'll have another trailer for us to check out, and we'll keep talking about Batman Day, and we'll maybe even get into designing some of these graphics.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
We'll see everybody in just a minute.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below.
Hey, this is Jim Lee, and you're about to enter into my world of Batman Hush.
All right. I thought I'd bring you a big one here at the end, Batman Hush. That asks a question that we should talk about here in the chat. Is Batman Hush Jim Lee's best work?
Oh,
What do you guys think? Is Jim, they said it right there, Jim Lee's best work. Is Batman Hush Jim Lee's best work?
oh man, that's
John. Here's a simple solution for you, buddy. Have them put us on in the store. I'm not kidding. When I had my shop, we used to, on days like Batman Day, whenever there was a YouTuber or something doing Batman stuff, we would stream them because that's the content people are looking for anyway. They're looking for people talking about Batman. And I'm not saying that we're the best content there is, although I think we are. It's something you can put on that I guarantee you won't offend anyone in your store, won't spoil anything, and we'll be promoting the stuff you're selling. So throw us on in the shop, man. I'd appreciate it, and so would everyone else. And if you can, hit me up because you know how to get a hold of me. Maybe we can do if we have some time, we can have you come on and we'll do an in-store. We'll have do a store tour. I know that English there was really strong on my part. But what I'm insinuating is that if there's time, you have time and we have time, maybe we can do a little, let's see where John is hanging out today, working in stores, and go from there. So
have a little Castle's Corner.
That would be fun. So, can anyone name a thing that they think is better than Batman Hush? I have an answer that I think is actually better Jim Lee work than Batman Hush. Do you want me to tell you?
Suspense is killing me.
Superman Unchained.
Oh, yes,
I think
sir.
it's Superman Unchained and then Batman Hush in terms of the greatest thing Jim Lee has ever done. And I think it's like a 1A, 1B kind of situation, right? Like,
yeah.
it's if you're gonna have two things be your top two things, have them be those, and you're still miles ahead of most, right? I think the greatest Batman ever done was by Bernie Wrightson. Greatest Batman art ever done was Bernie Wrightson. But Jim Lee is right there, top 3 or 4 for me. One of the people I wanted to get to come on with us, but just unfortunately because of scheduling, it's not working out, is Greg Capullo, who I think is probably my second favorite Batman artist ever. Jim would be my third. Does anybody else have a ranking? Top 4 or 5? Meanwhile, while we talk about this, I am going to show you guys what I am working on and how I'm working on. Ooh, Sam Keith. That's a really good answer. That is a really good answer for best Batman. Neil Adams. I think Neil Adams' way of drawing Batman really has defined sort of how Batman has looked for a long time. And so I don't think any of the people I named, Jim Lee, Greg Capullo, any of them in any way exist without Neil Adams's without Neil Adams's original work. And I think too, when you look at the writing that happened with those at those times, your Scott Snyder's, Tom King's, some of them, right? Neil Adams, but a lot of the modern writers are borrowing from the work Denny O'Neil did. Right. So Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil changed the character more than anybody since Bill Finger and Carmine Infantino. You know, you had a guy like Sheldon Moldoff, Shelley Moldoff, who really kind of did the motion, kind of described this motion, and guys like Dick Sprang, who created the Riddler. But all of it came together for Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. And then I think everybody since then has been playing the game of try to be Neil and Denny. So, I really like Bob Batman. That creepy smile he always had was weird and cool all at the same time. Yeah, I have a hard time I struggle sometimes to give Bob Kane the credit he deserves. Only because I know the stories of how he treated Bill Finger and how he treated some of these other creators. And I struggle with it. Same way that sometimes you struggle with your relationship with Stan Lee, right? Knowing that Stan wasn't always the best to the people he worked with. Kind of hurts the way you think about Stan in a way. And so that's how, Frank Miller is right there at the top too. I wish we could have got Frank on. He is just unavailable on Saturday. But he's right there too. Dick Giordano is underappreciated, but not the best. You're right. I think he's there. And I think, more and more the appreciation for him is coming through. Jim Aparo is an interesting one because those Jim Aparo, Doug Mensch stories were so important to so many of us. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time.
Mine's just Jim Lee. And the next one for me, it's so generic, but anything Alex Ross does is gorgeous to me. So my list is very, very generic.
And that's fair. Like, I think there's a level of, you gotta kind of feel it out, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, vote from the chat. How do you guys feel about this Gotham Knights font? How do you feel about it? It's this clear one here at the bottom. I don't know how I feel about it. Anyway,
How do you feel about the font?
the question is top Batman artists. Who's your favorite
Oh,
top 5 Batman artists? We also have questions about a font choice that I'm making, but that's more or less on me, I guess. Oh, Dave McKean. Ooh. See, you guys keep reminding me of people that I had forgotten about. That's a good one. See, and there are others like that were short-lived or worked on other characters that have done a lot to tell the story. So, like Paul Dini, right? Paul didn't have a he didn't really work directly on Batman and didn't really have a tremendously long run on any of the stuff that he has done. But without Paul Dini kind of doing the design for the animated series, so much of like what we have now in terms of the Harley Quinn show and some of this other stuff wouldn't exist at all. So you can't discount those guys in the conversation. So I don't know. It's kind of a tough nut to crack, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Man, that is such a tough one. Because, like I said, Dave McKean, I would argue, is way more important than he gets credit for in the grand scheme of Batman. So I don't know. That Harley Quinn show is amazing. I think what's her name?
Kaylee Kuko. I can never say it.
Kaylee Cuoco, yes, is doing an excellent job. And I think the things that Warner Discovery is letting them get away with that they wouldn't have been able to get away with even a couple of years ago is super impressive. And it just shows how much faith they have in the series. So I think that's a really interesting thing to look at too. What do you think of that for an announcement graphic, Jay?
Yeah.
So on my Mount Rushmore of best all-time Batman artists, if we're just talking artists, Neil Adams, Jim Lee, Bernie Wrightson, Neil Adams, Jim Lee, Bernie Wrightson, Frank Miller. How many people are on Mount Rushmore? 4? Those 4. And I think part of that is because they represent different styles of Batman, right? So Neil Adams is that more traditional 60s and 70s style Batman. Jim Lee is that more modern Batman that can kind of be represented by so many of these people we're talking about. Frank Miller is just an incredibly unique style of Batman. And Bernie Wrightson is more of that insane Batman style. Like when you think about like his work on Batman Nevermore and some of these other things that he did, you feel as manic as Bruce Wayne often feels. So it's an interesting sort of conundrum to have to deal with there. So those are the ones I would pick just because I feel like it represents all the different Batmans. But I don't know that a 4-person list could be considered even close to effective in terms of its you're immediately limiting yourself so hard that I don't know that making a 4-person list of the greatest Batman creators or artists specifically really is going to do the job. But see, this is why I hate doing these kind of topics, is because it's a hard thing to do, right? To say, okay, the Batman that you love I don't like him for this reason, or I would argue that Batman isn't as good as so-and-so for this reason. Because there's nothing there that's even remotely like real. It's just kind of how it is. And so I think coming up with these lists is just always an invitation to leave someone off. Right? And you don't ever want to leave anybody off that deserves to be on. Yeah, no, I think George Jimenez was so great on Batman. He's one of the people we've reached out to for Batman Day. So, I mean, or no, sorry, Phil Jimenez we reached out to. But no, I think you're right. I think that's a good answer. I'm going to lay awake tonight on this. Who should be on the Batman, wall, right? Who should be on the Batman Mount Rushmore? Because I don't know what my answer is really. I just know that if it were up to me, you'd need more than 4. So Braun says he was reading George Jimenez's run, and after he lost interest in the story, he just kept reading it for George's art, which I think is a very effective way to handle that situation, Bronze. I think there's a lot of Batman stories that sometimes get written off by people because when they lose interest in the story, they're like, well, there's nothing left. But so often Batman art is so incredibly cutting edge that you've got to at least consider it as a reason to continue reading even after you've lost the vibe. So, I mean, it's just a thought from me on that one. I don't really know. So, guys, we have filled an hour, kind of miscellaneous talking about Batman while we talk about Batman Day. So what I want to do is encourage you to hit follow, hit subscribe if you haven't already. I also want to encourage you to tune in for Batman Day. Get in the Discord channel, get on the mailing list, get on all these places where we're going to be telling you what's happening, and we will tell you what's happening as we know more. This is all going to continue to come together for the next few days, and as a result, there's options for things that we might not have even thought about yet. So I'm going to leave you all with one last trailer from DC, and then we're going to get out of here. Jay and I will be back in just about an hour's time with Minute to Skim It. I somehow, with doing all of this, still managed to skim my books for the week. I don't know how I did that, but I sure did it. So let's take a look at this last trailer, and we will see everybody next time.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.